Good afternoon and welcome to the first in our fourth series of live career webinars brought to you by the HOP platform. So first of all, well done for all of you for coming home from school today and for logging on and taking part in this webinar. The purpose of it is to help inform you and to inspire you about the wonderful career opportunities that there are as an event planner. And I'm very fortunate to say that I've got two fantastic panelists with me today who are going to be able to share their own experiences and help guide you along the way. So first of all, just a little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded, which does mean that if you can't stay for the full session, which will be about an hour, it will be available for you to watch again via our YouTube channel. So on your screen at the moment, you can see all of our HOP social media channels on there as well. So hopefully you'll be able to access those, and so particularly the YouTube one from tomorrow, you'll be able to watch this webinar back. Equally, if you watch all of it and you've realised that one of your friends or family member also would love to find out about event planning, then you can share it with them as well, and then they can watch it back as well. But the major advantage of you watching this live, which is Thursday afternoon, is that we're going to ask lots of questions of our panelists, Kelly and Tanik, in a moment, but you've got the opportunity to ask your own questions. So if there's anything that isn't already covered that you want to find out about, this is a really, really good opportunity. We can really personalise the questions and the responses that come to you. So the method for doing that is you haven't got to put your hand up, you haven't got to come live on audio, you just ask it via the questions tab, which should be on your dashboard. So on the questions tab, there's a little arrow on the left-hand side. If you click on that, it'll open out the text tab. You can type in your question on there and it will come directly through to me. It won't be visible to anyone else. And then I'll direct it to either Kelly or to Tanik, or perhaps even both of them. If you want to ask the question specifically to one of them, then just type their name at the front of it, then I'll know to direct it to them. But the purpose of this session is to give you that information and inspiration. So what we're going to find out today is what actually is an event planner. Now, probably you've already got some idea if you've registered and have come on to do this, but we'll explore that. We're going to find out the sorts of skills and qualities and perhaps the qualifications that you might need. So we might be able to give you some really helpful advice today on maybe which subjects you might want to choose at GCSE or A-level, or even thinking beyond to that, what your options are beyond that. We'll talk about what the most enjoyable aspects of the role are, and we'll also talk about maybe what the not so enjoyable aspects of the role are, because it's really important that you find out that as well. But before I go on, I'd like to ask my two panelists to introduce themselves. So first of all, good afternoon, Tanik.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. Hopefully you enjoy it. My name is Tanik Hay, and I am the proud owner of Hay Events. I help entrepreneurs and small business owners plan impactful events to increase their brand awareness. I've been in the event industry for about 8+ years. I did as a degree. I went to the University of Hertfordshire and I got a first-class degree in events management. And since then, I've never looked back. I enjoy every single moment of being an event planner, working in the event industry, because every day is different. Every day is something new, and that's something I absolutely love about events. And I am an organised freak, I would say. I'm a perfectionist. I love everything to be organised to a T. So I guess this is perfect for me and why I went into events management.
Sure, thank you very much, Tanik. And good afternoon, Kelly. And once you've introduced yourself, if you could also just explain a little bit about who you work for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So good afternoon, everyone. It's great to sort of virtually meet you all. My name's Kelly. I am Business Development Manager at Turenbury Farm Hotel, which is in Welwyn Garden City. I've been in events and hospitality industry for around 20 years. Started off waitressing, just loved giving that brilliant customer service experience. Worked my way up to run my own restaurant and then on to run my own pub, which absolutely loved. And now I just love the joy of putting together an incredible event for people, you know, making people happy, getting that great feedback, and just building those relationships with great people in the industry. So yeah, and Turenbury Farm, I've been here about 6 months. Absolutely stunning venue. We have 50 bedrooms. We've got kind of hot tub rooms, lakeside lodges. We have a cocktail bar. We've got a cookery school. We have sort of several different events, weddings, big corporate events. So kind of the opportunities here are endless. You know, if you've got a passion for something in particular within the event industry, then there's definitely roles here for you. So yeah, that's me.
Sure, thank you, Kelly. So again, just to reinforce, if you have got any questions that you want to ask to either Tanique or to Kelly, do drop them in via the questions tab on your dashboard. They will come through directly through to me. Use this opportunity just to find out anything that you really want to find out. We can dig into a little bit more detail. But first of all, well, Tanique, let's just set the scene a little bit. You are now, say, freelance, so you run your own company and you run lots of events. Tell us, what sort of events have you been working on today or this week?
Oh, so today I've been working on a corporate event. So I am in collaboration with a client who puts on events at the Labour Party and Conservative Party conference. So currently that's taking place on the 2nd and 4th of October. So I help them with all their conferences, private dinners, round table discussions. So I sort out all the logistics and speaking with the main speakers and making sure that everything runs smoothly on the day. So that's what I've been doing today. So that's the type of event I do. I also do networking events, business launches, product launches. It varies. It just helps entrepreneurs increase their brand awareness. So it varies in the types of events that I do, but mostly business related.
Sure, okay. Kelly, well, I guess similar question for you, and just thinking about what the events team at Turinbury Farm have been working on. I was at a big corporate event there right back in July, but I'm guessing that there would have been lots of weddings over the summer period in particular. What sort of things are going on? What are your event planners working on at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So a sort of a good day at Turinbury is usually we have a wedding for around 150. So that will be from, you know, set up during the day, looking after the couple on the day as well, you know, having their sit down meal and everything. So that's for 150 people, then go into the evening for the big party in the evening. But alongside that, we're also running a corporate retreat as well. So we have kind of 10 delegates from a big company that come along. They'll stay with us. They're coming to have cocktail making this evening. Then they'll stay with us, have dinner. Then tomorrow we've arranged a cookery school and a tour of the estate for them. We've got alpacas that they come and feed and fun things like that. And more dinner, more drinks. So it's just making sure really that everybody's happy and everything's well looked after, well organised, and that the communication is all there, and everyone's having a great time at Turinbury.
Sure, okay. Well, Kelly, I'm going to ask you this question first, but Tanique, I'm sure this is something you will have had experiences of as well. But so I'm guessing probably a lot of the people that are watching this may well have been to a wedding, you know, family member at some point. And I guess there's so much that goes on beneath the surface from an organisation point of view. So talk to me, Kelly, if a prospective wedding couple came into you today and said, we'd like to have our wedding here, what's the sort of chronology of the conversations that your event planners would be having with them right the way up until the actual day of the wedding?
Absolutely. So the initial point is the show round. So we introduce them to come and meet us in person. Obviously, there's been kind of emails, phone calls back and forward before that stage. But the show rounds is that opportunity to really get to know the couple and to make sure that what they're looking for suits the venue. So, you know, we're very fortunate that it is a very beautiful venue. But what we'll do is we'll show them around the estate and actually talk them through how their day would run. But also I think what's really key is finding out what's really important to them for their big day. So for example, we allow dogs at the ceremony, which is, you know, something that people really love. You know, they can bring their dogs along, or they might want an outside wedding, or they might want something a bit more low key. So it's just establishing what's going to make their day really special, and there's always something different that's important to other people. So it would be that, just getting that all confirmed, making sure that we completely suit all their requirements. Then from that point, they would arrange kind of other meetings to try the food, meet the extended team, you know, with the suppliers as well. So maybe the musicians or the people that do the table dressings, things like that. So we work with them all the way through. And I think what's really important is, although we work on hundreds of weddings, we make everybody feel like they're the only wedding that we're looking after. They're the only couple, and you know, that's really important, I think, just to make them feel very special all the way through.
Sure. Okay. And then, Tanik, I mean, I'm assuming that's exactly the same process if you're working with a large corporate company, or, you know, the Labour Party or the Conservative Party. That, from what Kelly's saying there, that's really important that you have your own ideas as a planner, but presumably you've got to listen to what your client wants.
100%. That's why I always start with like a discovery call or a consultation call with each of my clients, and really getting to know what is their main purpose, what is the objectives, what are their main outcomes that they want to achieve from their event. So that way I can structure an event strategy for them. And then we talk about what type of venue space do you want. So at least that way, once I have an idea or the venue space that they want, I can start sourcing for the venues. And then also think about the catering. How much budget do they have? So I know how much budget I'm working with in order for me to get those venues, to get source those suppliers, and so forth. And then from then we start thinking about the logistic sides, so the timing of the event in terms of the speakers, the attendee management, how do you want the attendees to feel the experience of the event. So those are the processes that I go through. And then also supplier management as well, sourcing the right suppliers for my client's event based on the type of event that they have. And then on-site management, I'm there on a day to make sure everything runs smoothly from start to end. So those are the types of processes I go through. So purpose, event logistics, sourcing suppliers, as well as on-site management.
Sure. You know, there's a question that's come in, which I'd normally keep saying, but it's really relevant to ask now. So let me ask you first of all, do you have any clients who have unrealistic expectations of what they want, or I guess do they come up with something like kind of really left field that actually it's difficult to incorporate?
Yeah, for example, they want something like a big time speaker to attend their event, but they don't have budget for it. So I have to be really realistic that do you have budget for that? Let's think of alternatives. What can we do? Maybe we can do something different. Maybe we can get a relevant someone different to that speaker, but it's thinking about their budget and their overall objectives. So it's quite challenging to meet our clients' expectations, but that's where I come along with their strategy. Okay, I'm a realist. I say, let's think about this realistically based on your budget and your type of event. So that's what I try and do, bring in my optimistic side of it, as well as my realist side and logistical head.
And then, Kelly, I mean, if you had got, can you think of any examples where someone's come up with something that's quite difficult to incorporate within the?
Was that to do?
Yeah.
Sorry, was that to myself? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So quite recently, actually, we had a client who wanted a circus theme, which was absolutely fantastic. However, they wanted people hanging from quite a low ceiling whilst breathing fire. And great idea, but quite dangerous. And we just had to say, okay, we can't do that, but we can have fire breathers as you arrive. We can incorporate the circus elements, but it's just making sure you don't kind of you know, you're not putting them off the idea completely, but you're just making it work for you as a venue and keeping everyone safe. We've had lots of people that want to do sort of archery and sort of rifle shooting and things like that, which we encourage. It's absolutely fine, but it's all those risk assessments and just keeping everyone safe. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you what was the most enjoyable aspects of the role, but I think you probably kind of covered that when you said everything was enjoyable about it. But
I love it.
What are the aspects of the role that you think people should be aware of that maybe they wouldn't be? I mean, I'm guessing you work some pretty long hours, can't you? I imagine the night before a big event can be quite stressful. So talk to us about some of the more challenging sides of the role.
I feel like being able to juggle multiple projects at one time and having that time management and disciplines, like, right, this is priority, it's priority, but making sure your other clients are aware that I'm currently working on this project, however, I can prioritize this at this time. So setting yourself boundaries and giving yourself a time frame, a realistic time frame to achieve each goal and target for each client, but be transparent with your client. Say, at the moment, this is your time window, we've got a year's time to do it, however, let me start at this time because I've got another client, or we can start looking at this. So give yourself realistic time frames, I would say, but the most challenging thing is juggling different tasks, but being organized and being prepared and having a calendar. I use Asana. It's a lovely calendar, project calendar, and that helps me project plan each of my clients' events. So that keeps me on track to help me with challenging times that I'm juggling so many events at once.
And Tanique, is that something that you've learned over time around the importance of prioritising?
Yeah, so I think I learned it on the job, because you don't learn that in a degree. But I've learned that on the job, to balance my time accordingly, because you can lead to a burnout. And events managers have been top ranked the 5 most stressful job in the UK, in the world actually. So event planning can be stressful, but you need to make sure you have priorities and you set boundaries for yourself and take time out as well. Because it is busy. It's a busy job, but I love it. So just make sure you prioritize yourself.
Yeah. I would say as well, the challenges within a venue, when you're actually sort of working with a venue, you kind of, I will look after the clients, I will look after the couples at the initial stages, at the kind of sales stage. I'll look after all their requirements, make sure every box is ticked, but I then hand it over to the operations team. And it's down to them to facilitate that event, to make that dream become a reality. I'm not actually running the event, so I have to trust the team that I'm working with implicitly, to make sure that event is ran without fault. So that's one real challenge. And then I would say another one, obviously there's lots of amazing venues, especially in Hertfordshire, all vying for the same business. You've got to work very hard to set yourself apart and really point out your unique selling points. But you can work really, really hard on a big bit of business. I mean, you know, some of them are sort of £100,000, and you've put your heart and soul into that business. You've answered all those questions. You've gone back in a really good time frame. But it just doesn't suit the client for one reason or another. That is very difficult to sort of, okay, but it happens regularly. You know, it does happen regularly. But you just think, okay, I'll get the next one.
Wanted to ask you, you've worked for companies running events, and now you work for yourself. What would you say are the sort of pros and cons of each?
The pros of working. So I used to work in venues such as Kelly. So I used to be the operation side. So once the salesperson passed it over, they will pass it over to me. I think the benefits of working in a company is you're surrounded by people that support you. If anything goes wrong, you've got people around you. What else? Other benefits is you meet other like-minded people that you work with in the industry. The cons is when I was working in venues, there's not a lot of creativity, as opposed to me working by myself now. I've got so much creativity in terms of finding venues and doing logistics and so forth. I was quite restricted working in a venue. So that's what I would say. I really like being by myself and being an agency side in a sense, finding venues for my client, doing all the logistics, finding suppliers, as opposed to being in one place in a venue, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I guess presumably you were only able to go on your own through having gained that work experience.
That's correct, yeah.
Experience working for
100%, yeah. So I think experience is key. So I was able to go by myself because I've had 8+ years working in events. And even when I did a degree at the University of Hertfordshire, I took a year out and I did a year's placement. So I feel my experience helped me so much to craft me into leaving my 9 to 5 and going full time in my business. So experience is really, really key. And I'm so grateful that I've had that experience of working within companies to help me build up my experience to go full time by myself. So 100%, that is an advantage of working as in a company.
For sure. Okay, right. Just going to move the conversation on now. And I know, looking at the questions that came in when people registered, this is something that they're going to be very interested in now. And it's perhaps a good segue into what you were just talking about, your degree there, Tanique. So if I could come back to you to start with, when did you know that event planning was a career you wanted to go to? Because clearly it was something you thought about before choosing your degree. So which subjects did you do at school, and what was your lead into applying to study event planning?
To be really transparent, I never knew about events management degree. I never knew that it existed at all. I originally wanted to become a chef. I wanted to own my own restaurant. It was called Caribbean Flavors. I wanted to become a chef or an accountant. So I stumbled across event management when I went to the University of Hertfordshire opening day. So I was going to do an accountancy degree because I loved maths. I thought, why not? I might as well do it. And then so I went into the opening day for accountancy, and I slept in the lecture. I was like, this is boring. I can't do this. And then I looked again at the booklet, and it said events management. I was like, oh my god, I never knew this existed. Prior to that, I used to plan lots of my friends and families events, and I thought this is perfect for me. And since then, I never looked back. I absolutely loved it. I loved the degree and all sorts. So I never knew about events management, but now it's become really popular as I've started to work in events. Everyone wants to do events management mostly. So I'm happy that the awareness of events management degree is increasing, because at the time when I went to university in 2010, no one knew about it. So I'm so grateful that it's now elevating and people want to get into the event industry. So at the start, no, I never knew about events, but I'm happy that I got into it now.
Sure. So can you just talk us through, what did you learn on the degree program? What sort of what was in the curriculum?
So event marketing was really, really important. About managing people as well, because when you're doing events, you've got to manage a team. So that was really, really important. In terms of also creativity, we had to run our own events as our degree, so that really, really helped in terms of teamwork, communication, organization skills. So those are some of the key factors that I really, really enjoyed within my degree.
Okay, so Kelly, Tanique's a really good example of someone who actually went and studied a very, very relevant degree at university. But does everyone who goes into event planning need to have a degree, or do they need to have gone to university?
I don't think so. No, I think if it's different for each person. I think if you can work well under pressure, if you can communicate really, really well, and if you work well in a team, if you've got all those attributes as a person, then I think you'll do incredibly well in events. And it's just putting the hard work in, and putting yourself out there. You know, I sort of worked my way up really quite quickly, just by asking, you know, just by showing enthusiasm, getting involved in every part of the business, knowing the business inside and out, and asking questions and learning on the job. So I definitely think there's a case for both options. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tanique, if you could go back in time and if you could talk to yourself as a year 11 student, let's say, where you're just thinking about what you're going to be doing, staying on at school for A-level, going to college, knowing what you know now about event planning, are there any particular subjects that you would really encourage someone to take?
Definitely marketing. Marketing's a good one. Business studies is really, really good. So business studies, marketing, and media studies as well. That's really, really good. But definitely business and marketing, I would say. Those two are really, really key. And something to do with like communications. That would be really, really good.
I'd also add to that in potentially languages as well, because it just opens up the possibilities of, because we get a lot of international people traveling across to stay here. If you can communicate with, you know, other people in events in different countries, or you might want to go and actually work in the event industry in a different country, it just opens up those possibilities, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I know there's questions about which subject should I do to get into particular universities to study it, and the answer that we would give for any webinars is just read very carefully through the UCAS applications, because each university, they might have absolutely identical looking courses, they might have slightly different requirements, but I suspect Tanique's right in saying that something, you know, business will cover, there'll be marketing covered within part of that, which will be helpful, but it's probably not a prerequisite. I mean, just summarise, I think we've sort of discussed this, but maybe not concisely, the sorts of skills or qualities that you need as an event planner. So Kelly, just summarise the skills and qualities that someone needs, regardless of any qualifications.
You absolutely need to genuinely be a people person. You want to be able to make an event happen for somebody and really genuinely care about those people. You know, little things like remembering people's names, remembering, you know, what their key attributes were for the event, really do make a difference, and you can't fake that. You know, you're either a genuine people person or you're not. So I think that's really, really important, really caring about actually making a great event for somebody. As I said before, working in a team is so important. You've got so many people you need to rely on. You can't do it all by yourself. So working in a team, being able to communicate within a team, delegating effectively. You know, I've got sort of 30 people that we need to delegate different duties to as such. So delegating and prioritizing, definitely. And then, yeah, working well under pressure, being able to know that you've got all these inquiries coming in, you've got operations asking you questions, you've got the couple that would like a show round, just delegating and remaining positive at all times. You can turn every negative into a positive if you've got the right attitude.
Sure, okay. So Tanique, question for you, and then Kelly, perhaps you could answer as well. What experiences would you recommend someone who's still at school age could get? Presumably there's lots of opportunities to support events that are being run at school.
Yeah, 100%. You can also reach out to event agencies as well and do like a 1 week placement or a 1 week shadowing an event manager. Even myself, I offer support if anyone wants to have experience working on site as well. So yeah, reaching out to event agencies, event planners, someone like Kelly as well, to maybe shadow her as well. So that would be really, really helpful. So I would say that, and even gain experience trying and organising events for your friends and family, or some events in your school that might be quite helpful. Yeah, or if there's associations that you can join as well, or ambassadors in your school, you can help and support and plan events there. But definitely reach out to maybe event planners and event agencies to offer, I would love to gain experience in events. Could I help and assist you at all? So that's what I did when I was in the University of Hertfordshire.
Okay, and then yeah, I mean, Kelly, same question for you. Presumably there's lots of things perhaps outside of school within the community that people could be volunteering for. How important is volunteering for you, as someone who recruits people in general?
Yeah, it is really important, and I think it just shows that willing to, you know, be involved and really do put yourself out there to learn new things. I think, you know, even being in the industry 20 years, I'm still learning new things all the time. There's, you know, I would say keep up to date with the new trends that are coming out in the industry. You know, if it's weddings that you really enjoy, then, you know, find out everything there is to know about wedding trends and the lingo, the jargon that's used within that industry. You know, and also if you've got a venue or, you know, a particular area that you really admire, so, you know, say you chose a beautiful venue in London that you've always admired, you know, follow the chefs on social media, follow the people that work there, go and visit it, you know, actually get involved and work your, you know, aspire to, okay, I really like what they're doing, aspire to that and see what they did to get where they are. You know, follow those sort of inspirational role models, I guess. Yeah, that's what I would advise. That, you know, I've always been interested in, you know, like Visit Hearts and screen tourism. I'm working on loads of different projects at the moment that link in with our venue. So yeah, there's loads of opportunities out there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that sounds like some really good answers and some really good suggestions. Again, if you've got any follow-up questions that you want to ask either Kelly or Tanique, do put them in on the questions tab. We've got a couple in already. We will definitely be able to forward all of them on and get you some answers here. So just before we go into the questions that have been submitted, this is really just a bit of a reassurance that there is really big demand for event planners, not just now but in the future, so particularly within Hertfordshire. Kelly, you spoke about the large number of venues within the county that require event planners as well. But I mean, Tanika, are you seeing the demand for you and your services going up?
100%, especially on the freelance basis. Everyone needs event planners and events now, given that everyone knows the value of events and how valuable events are to a company and building their awareness, building their visibility. So there is a high demand for event planners currently. Now that we're able to do live events, in-person events, large agencies always need freelancers like myself to help them on site as well as prior to the event planning as well. So there is a high demand for events, guys, event planners.
Yeah, and presumably, yeah, Kelly, you're seeing that demand, at Turenbury Farm?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the corporate market is going from strength to strength at the moment, and they're becoming very inventive with what they want from an event, what they want to achieve. It's definitely moving away from your standard meeting room. They're looking for more inspirational ways to get together with their team and have a really good time, and that's when the creativity comes in as well, because you can create a whole weekend away for 100 people and come up with like treasure hunts and how are they going to spend those 2 days. They want people to think outside of the box. They want to come away and have a brilliant time with their team. They're not doing it kind of on like a monthly basis. What you find is they're coming together maybe 2-3 times a year, so they're going all out, and it's fantastic to be part of that, and it's just growing and growing.
So follow-up question to that, so there's one that's on the screen. What careers could you go into with an events planning background? Now, Tanika, obviously you're loving life at the moment and you're loving everything you do, but is there a natural follow-on from event planning that maybe you would take your career into next?
Maybe event consultancy, or a coach as well, advisory coach in events, supporting people who want to get in the events industry, and I can use all my knowledge to help them pivot to working in events. So maybe consultancy or coaching or mentoring. That's what I think I'll go into next.
Yeah. I would say, my role now as business development manager has kind of stemmed from being an event planner. So I have a venue and my sole purpose is to grow the revenue, grow the exposure for the business, market the business across the whole portfolio. So I've got, within Turenbury, I've got the cookery school, I'm marketing that, I've got the cocktail bar, I've got all the bedrooms and things, so I'm helping to market the business as a whole and make it as successful as possible. So that is, as much as I am obviously working on the event side as well, it's led really nicely. I noticed what I enjoyed about the event planning was actually building the relationships with the clients and introducing the venue to them. So it just meant that I got to almost create this role from every element that I loved within event planning. So, which, is fantastic.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Well, look, those were all my questions for you now. So we're now going to turn to the questions that have been submitted. If you want to put your own words in, you've still got plenty of time to do it. So just open up the questions tab. You can type in the text box there. It's only visible to me. It's quite a cheeky question, but it's a good one to ask nonetheless. Have you ever been involved in an event where something has gone badly wrong?
Yeah.
Kelly, well, you go first, Kelly.
Unfortunately, we had a very big event. It was for the Chamber of Commerce, and there was somebody with allergy. The main speaker unfortunately picked up the wrong bread roll. We've done everything from, this wasn't at Turenbury, I'd like to say, but we've done everything from our point of view. They'd just gone to the wrong plate, took their partner's bread roll, which wasn't for them. So they ended up, actually, we got them to the hospital, got them all sorted. They were absolutely fine, got them back within 25 minutes. and he actually managed to get up and do the presentation. So it was just, you know, realizing what had happened, thinking on your feet very quickly, getting that, making sure everyone's safe, everyone's okay, communicating that. And actually what we realized is no one at the event even noticed that that had happened. So that that was a bit scary for a moment, but he was absolutely fine and it was all sorted. So yeah, but that was probably the worst one, I think.
Okay, thank you. Tanique, I mean, you were shaking your head when I said, have you ever been involved in any events where things have gone wrong? But anything spring to mind?
I would say, yeah, it's only little things like AV messing up, or speakers not coming on time. So it's just more of thinking on my feet, really. Nothing really drastic as Kelly's one, but it's more of just little things like AV, speakers not coming on time, catering are not running on time. So just being on the ball and really making sure that things are running smoothly, and making sure there's a team behind you that support you with if the AV goes wrong and so forth. So I think it's more of little bits that could go wrong in events. So you can plan as much as you like, but when you're there at an event, anything could happen. So make sure you're always on your feet and ready to go. Just to
keep an eye on everything.
Yeah, I can't sit down. I don't eat. I'm always like, hey, what's going on next? So yeah, just making sure, keep an eye on everything.
Sure, okay. I mean, that's an interesting question. How visible are you when an event's actually running? Do you just want to be in the background and no one notice you, or
I'm mostly in the background, making sure everything runs smoothly. Really, I don't mind being in the front, but I need to be at the back, so I need to make sure everything is running on track and my team know what they're doing. My clients are happy. That's the main thing as well. I'm making sure that my client is happy because that's my number one priority at the end of the day. So I'm always in the back, making sure things are running smoothly.
Yeah, mine's similar to Tanique. I will obviously, because myself, I would have worked with a client, you know, all the way up to, so on the day of the event I'll go and say hello, make sure they're okay, and then kind of leave the operations team to run the event successfully. But I think it's always being contactable, always being on hand if they do want to speak to you is really important.
Okay, I've got two questions here, which I'm going to try and combine. So the first one is, are children's parties fun to organise? And then another question that's coming is, how did you know which type of events you wanted to go into? So, I mean, Tanique, first of all, children's parties, fun to get involved in, or would you avoid them?
Yeah, because I did a large-scale children's festival at Epsom Downs Racing Course on August the 14th. So that was fun and exciting. It is challenging. There was like 200 children running about, but it's fun. It's exciting. They're full of life, children, so they're easy to please, I would say.
Yeah.
We had face painting, we had inflatables, we had go-karts. They're easy to please, so it's fun. I would say, children's parties are fun.
Yeah. I love the themes that people come up with for children's parties. You know, you'll have like a jungle theme or an underwater theme, and they just make the whole place look magical. You know, so that in itself is amazing. We're fortunate to have quite a lot of celebrities who have their children's parties here, and they just go to town, and it is fantastic to see it from the planning stages all come to fruition, and then the kids just having an unbelievable time.
Yeah. Okay. So the second part, or the second question, was, how did you know which type of event you wanted to go into? So, I mean, Tanique, what about you? That's a big corporate event or a large wedding? Which would you prefer?
Corporate for me, because that's me. I've worked in venues and I've done so many weddings. I love weddings, but that's not where my passion is. My passion is I'm more of like a corporate head, like straightforward. This is what it is. Logistics. I think I'm more of like corporate, such as brand activation events, so big large scale events for brands and entrepreneurs, so fashion shows and so forth. So weddings are not for me. I don't know why, but it's not where my heart is at the moment. I can't wait to plan my own wedding, but everyone else is. Nah, I'm all right.
I'm exactly the same as Tanique. I am corporate events all the way, because they are so varied. Weddings are beautiful, but by and large they're very similar, and they're also very, very long lead times. So you're working on a wedding for 2 years, and unfortunately I just lose a bit of interest kind of a couple of months into it. So we've got wedding coordinators who are phenomenal at that, but I like, okay, I've got this event in 3 months, let's get it sorted, and I like that shorter lead time, and they tend to know exactly what they want, and bigger numbers, very varied, and the theming and things is fantastic. And all the new product launches, we work on a lot of product launches, so I find that really interesting, because they might have a new food that's coming into the supermarkets, and they'll launch it here, and then a couple of weeks later you're like, oh, that's that. I like that sort of thing. It's interesting.
Sure. Another really interesting question that I think is probably principally for Tanique, but I think Kelly, I'd be interested to get your view on this as well. So how do you market yourself as an events planner? Is it word of mouth, or do you have to have a very sort of aggressive and proactive
I would say word of mouth, and I'm quite vigilant on social medias. I'm quite active on social media. I love my reels, I love my TikToks. So mostly it is word of mouth or networking events. I used to go to lots of networking events to get myself seen and heard as the #1 go-to event planner. So yeah, so it's definitely networking events. I go to industry events as well, get myself out there. And social media. I'm all about social media, and that's how most of my clients come to me, through either Instagram, LinkedIn, or word of mouth.
Sure. And is it a crowded marketplace? Have you got lots of competition?
Not so much, because I've niched down. So I mainly focus on entrepreneurs and small business owners. There's a lot of agencies do other things, but I really wanted to niche down and cater to a certain sector within the industry, which is entrepreneurs, small business owners, and business corporate events. So I've really niched down on my clientele. So for me, I'm in my own lane, I would say.
Yeah. And Kelly, I mean, exactly the same principle, but from a venue's perspective. So, how do you compete against like Sopwell House, or or the Grove, or one of the other many fantastic sites that we've got in Hertfordshire?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is something that I really do focus on as business development is, how do we set ourselves apart? Where do we place ourselves to be the #1? So I work very closely with our marketing team. There's lots and lots of kind of portals that you have to be part of. So it's a lot to do with looking at the right imagery, wanting to get across the right branding, so that before people even kind of visit you, they've got a concept of what you're going to be offering them. That I find really interesting. So there's a lot of things like Venue Directory is almost your go-to to find your perfect venue, but you've got to stand out. You've got to do something that's different to other people. So it's finding those right images, it's using the right narrative, and then just doing something a little bit different, on social media, sharing your testimonies as well. So, we're fortunate enough to receive incredible feedback, and people base their decisions on what other people say, but you need to share that information. You need to share your reviews, share your testimonies. So just getting those out there as well really helps.
Okay, thank you. Another really important question to ask as well. As an events planner, do you have a good work-life balance? Tanique?
I'm a workaholic, I won't lie to you. I love my job, so I'm always like on the go. I'm always like thinking, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. But yes, I do have a nice work-life balance. I switch off when I need to and enjoy my free time, going to the gym, spending time with my family. So yeah, I do have a balanced work life, but sometimes I could be so addicted to what I do. I'm just constantly working, and even when I'm off the job, I think, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. But yeah, I do. To answer your question, I do. In a nutshell,
yeah. I would say absolutely I do. I mean, I think what's really important, especially from a venue, if you're working in a venue perspective, is that you've got a team that you can trust, that okay, I've done my bit, it's over to you, and you can trust that that's going to be run like clockwork. So that's really important. So yeah, I'm very fortunate that I sort of do 9 to 5, weekends free. I have worked up to that, but yeah, I would say I have a very, very good work-life balance.
Sure. Although, I mean, presumably for most people just going into events planning, you're going to be working weekends and you're going to have evenings.
Yeah.
Aren't you? Yeah, that's presumably a reality of it. But again, if you love it as much as you two have just explained, then you probably don't notice, do you? It
No.
becomes your hobby as well. Another again, really important question. I don't know whether you'll have an answer for me that you can give, but what is the average salary in events management?
It just depends on the different tiers. It depends on it could be event assistant to event coordinator to event executive, but it varies from, let's say, 22 to maybe you can get even 50k. So it just varies. It depends on the job that you want to go for. So for my starting one, I think I was on 22 when I graduated, and that was event coordinator, and I was on 22k. That was my first job out of university. So and then I
Yeah.
just worked my way up from there.
I mean, we pay at the moment. So, for example, for our wedding coordinators, I mean, they do tend to work 9 to 5, and then they will work every other weekend to do show rounds and things like that, day off in the week. But they start at about 27, and then you're also so myself, for example, I'm bonused on if you earn anything over budget. We get a budget set. I always want to exceed the budget, and then you can earn kind of commission on anything that you exceed over the budget. So you get really, really good incentives put in place, for just doing what you should be doing. So, if you're selling really well, if you're building those relationships, it's definitely a good salary.
For sure. Okay. Well, I think that was the final question we've got. I'm going to ask you both just to summarise a little bit for me now. So if anyone has got any last questions you want to get in, this is literally your last chance to do it. But Kelly, just in summary, someone who's watching this at the moment, maybe 15, 16, 17 years old, what would you say to them is the most important things for them to consider when thinking about this as a future career?
Sure. I really think it's an exciting career. You get to meet some incredible people. You get to build really good relationships. It's not easy, it's hard work, but it's absolutely worth it. Also, it can take you into so many different directions. What I would say is potentially figure out exactly the bit of the events that you enjoy. Is it the weddings? Is it the corporate side? Is it more the business development side? What is it that drives you? And then work from there, because it's quite vague, as in events. There's so much to it. There's so many bits that you can get involved in. So if you can kind of figure out that early on, it will put you in good stead for a career.
Sure. Okay. And then, well, Tanik, exactly the same question for you. What would you say just to inspire somebody that this is the right role for them to go into?
Yeah, similar to what Kelly said, I think you should go online to see there's different types of roles in events, and then experience. For me, experience is key. So gain those experience, do work placements, and really find out, okay, what is the area that I really like to go into in events. That's what I did as well. I gained a lot of experience before I jumped into a full-time in events. So I went to agencies, I went to hospitality, I did venues. I was just offering my help and support. And yeah, so I would say definitely research into the different types of events roles that you can do, and then go out there and start gaining experience. And that way you can really figure out, actually, I want to go into this field. I want to go into wedding planning. So at least once you finish year 11 and you go into college, you can think about, okay, what skill sets can I do that I can adapt to what I want to do when I grow up, if that makes sense. Yes, I'll say definitely experience and really work on what type of role that you want to go into in events, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, look, thank you. I think that's a really good way just to round off the webinar today. You've provided so much really fantastic advice and guidance, and by sharing your own experiences as well, I'm sure you've inspired not just the people watching this live, but anyone who'll be watching it back as well from across Hertfordshire. So let me just say thank you so much to Tanik and to Kelly for giving up their time this afternoon and for sharing those experiences with us. On your screen at the moment, you'll see our HOP social media handle. So if you're not following us already, please do. HOP is the home for so much careers advice and guidance, specifically for young people studying in Hertfordshire at the moment. So if you're not using HOP, please do have a look at it. Do share it with your friends as well. The QR code in the top left-hand corner will take you to the library of all the previous webinars that we've been doing. So we've been running these since May 2020, and we've covered a whole variety of different topics. So perhaps a slight relation to what we've talked about today, we did run one last year on event production, which is slightly different, but sure Tanique and Kelly will both work with lots of people within event production, so that may be something that you're interested in as well. You'll also see details of any upcoming webinars that we're running. So this time next week we'll be running a webinar looking at careers in interior design, and then the week after that we're looking at careers in the fire service, and then sports development, and then we've got a lot more to try and plan and organise. In fact, I might need one of your help to help me plan all these events that we're running online all the way through the school year this year. So for those of you watching this, thank you so much for giving me your time to watch and for contributing your questions as well. We really hope that you found this useful and wish you all a very pleasant evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.